Today, on the next episode with the Twin Flames, we are bringing rich auntie vibes along with our special guest, Miss Brittany Charles, a.k.a. Mrs. Fiscally Responsible, here to talk about money and finances and the power of abundance and manifestation.
Welcome back to another episode. I am your host, Kisha, with my beautiful co-host, Janine.
Hey.
Just a reminder who we are. We are two registered nurses that discovered that we are twin flames. And once we discovered that we are twin flames, we were on a search to find out what our purpose is. And what our purpose is to save all mankind, to save all souls, to give love to the planet. And with that being said, we are here today with a great episode on
manifestation.
Ooh.
Let's talk about it.
Yes, indeed. Now, Janine.
Yes. Talk to me, friend.
Have you ever manifested?
Let me tell you something. I manifested this morning.
Oh, well, please tell me what you did.
Well, no, I was going to say something really nasty. I'm going to leave it alone. You know how my mind always goes somewhere in the gutter?
She always go there. So tell me, what is it about your manifestation that was special today?
I am so powerful. I can manifest anything.
You sure can. You really have.
I can. Listen.
That's why we're sitting on this table right here today, because you manifested this.
All right, I'm going to talk about my job really quick. So At my job, I work with the air is thick around there, for lack of better words.
Okay.
The air is kind of thick. And when I first started working there with my sunshine and sunflowery self,
yes,
you know, I try to change the energy in there because sometimes it's a little bit too much. It's too much for the average person to work in that place of egos.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think that's every job, though.
I don't know. This place is a little different.
Well, I work on a psych ward.
Okay. Yeah,
I got you beat. I got you beat.
But yeah, listen, the air is a little thick there. So sometimes I have to bring a little added sparkle in there.
Yes.
And I notice, like, especially around the holidays, I love the holiday season. It's one of my favorite
That's
times.
One of your favorites.
People know that about me.
Yes.
I just bring so much joy because I told my sister the other day, I said, I wish that I could just live in Christmas.
Yes, if it was up to you, we would have Christmas 365 days of the year.
Exactly. Lights everywhere. Lights for everyone.
You would have everybody hating Christmas by March.
I swear. And I know that my sunshine gets on people's nerves. But it's okay. Listen, it's not going to stop me.
Amen.
That's why I'm here.
Preach.
I'm here. That's my purpose. I'm raising the vibration of the world.
Yes.
Whether you like it or not, I'm bringing joy.
And you're doing a mighty fine job.
Thanks, friend. But listen, so when I go to work, like I said, it's like a bunch of Grinches around there.
Yeah.
So I had to block out a lot of what's going on around me in order to maintain this high vibrancy that I have. Mm-hmm. But I notice it's infectious.
And that's good. That's why we were sent here.
Exactly.
Yes.
And with that being said, because it's infectious, I have manifested now this new world of Christmas around me. So everybody has been enjoying Christmas at work. I have a Snoop on a stoop, by the way.
Now, for anybody who don't know Snoop on the stoop, it's the opposite of Elf on the Shelf.
It's the opposite of Elf on the Shelf. And I have gotten everybody involved in the Snoop on the stoop experience.
Yes.
So it's been kind of cool. So
I love it. I love it.
That was me manifesting this week.
Okay,
It was pretty cool.
Well, you did a mighty fine job.
Thank you, girl.
I love it.
And how do you sprinkle manifestation? You?
Let me see. Let me think. When's the last time I really manifested?
You manifest every day.
I do.
Don't take away your credit. We are so powerful at this point.
Yes, you're right.
We can manifest anything.
You know what? Okay, so I manifested my energy because I just got back from vacation.
Yeah.
Came home to a fridge that was completely shut down.
Oh,
lost
man.
all my food.
Yeah.
So that was really depressing for like a 24-hour period.
I'm sorry.
And then, thank you, boo. And then I had to manifestate my positive energy. I literally was driving. I said, you need to stop it, because this is not sunshine and sunflowers. This is not what we do. So you need to stop it, because there are people in this world that are struggling, and they are in hospitals. They are sick and dying, and you are crying over some groceries that can be replaced.
Exactly.
So I manifested positive energy this week.
See, that was amazing, Keisha.
Yeah.
You did your thing.
Thank you, boo.
You get a pat on the back for that one. A gold star. So I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
But this is what the world needs to understand. And this is why I keep saying this, is that manifestation is so much more easier than what people realize, right?
It is.
So us being twin flames, because I can never stop talking about the importance of the twin flame experience.
Yes.
Is that twin flames, when we come here, we are designed, or we have been designated a task in order to, well, hopefully elevate souls in a way,
Yes.
right? So when we elevate souls, it takes a lot of work, right? We have to do inner work to understand who we are. And then once we have reached a certain level of elevation,
Yes.
and then we work together, we create magic.
We sure do.
And that creation process is manifestation.
Yes. You know, I had this little comment. So I forgot, it was the weekend of Halloween, and you surprised us by coming to Atlantic City for my husband's birthday.
Yeah.
And when I tell you Janine came with all this magic, my 19-year-old was like, I really see how you guys are twin flames. She was like, she brought all of this energy with her. Like, you really did. You just came in, and it was like a gush of sunflowers and sunshine. And my daughter's like, I see it. Like, it kind of was like, I see it now. I see how you guys are twin flames now. Like, so it was amazing.
Some people hate it.
They do. We talked about that last time.
And guess what? A bitch don't care.
We don't give a fuck. I hit the mic. We don't give a.
I'm still shining.
I gave the analogy of our energy as like somebody is sleeping and someone turns on. It has the lights on and the TV at 3:00 in the morning and it's still shining. Like, can you turn that shit off?
Turn it off.
So people be hating. I could tell somebody at work was like, "Do you ever get mad?" I'm like, "The fuck I do." But not today. I love it.
Yeah. So again, like, people have to understand that. All right. So this is probably a concept that people will have a hard time acknowledging. A lot of closed-minded people, a lot of people who are not as elevated or living in a dark space. You have to understand that everything in this world belongs to you.
It does.
Whether you want to believe it or not, everything in this world belongs to you. But a lot of it starts with a positive mindset.
It does. It does.
So when you have a positive mindset, you really do live in this space that you can create or achieve anything that you want in this world.
Because the universe has to match your energy.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Absolutely. So with that being said, we have a special guest here today.
Sure do.
A lovely guest. And this lovely guest, she is more than magical. She's more than a manifester because her resume is incredible. And she has had the ability to get herself out of $39,000 worth of debt in a matter of 8 months.
Oh, so
who does that? Who does that? Miss Magic over here.
Exactly. I love it.
Miss Magic over here. So I'm so happy to introduce Miss Brittany, Mrs. Fiscally Responsible. Charles is here to elevate the world and teach everybody about the beauty of finances. And she's also achieved multiple financial milestones, including building a robust emergency fund.
Wow.
I don't even know half of these words. Maintaining an excellent credit score. Well, that part I have achieved. But becoming an active investor, on track to be mortgage free for 21 years. 21 years you've done that? Right? Mortgage free in a matter of 21 years, and building $1 million net worth.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
I need to know what book
I gotta
you learned it from.
I gotta clap.
Come on, girl. And as founder and CEO of Fiscally Responsible, Brittany empowers women through practical financial literacy coaching and her proven approach has guided hundreds of women in setting smart financial goals, creating realistic budgets, and building sustainable wealth on their journey to financial freedom and success. So welcome to the show, Ms.
Welcome.
Woo! Where's my cup of water?
Yeah.
Because I'm ashamed of myself. I got to work on something.
You got to manifest more. You better get back to
Wait,
work.
I just lowered my vibration about 2 notches.
No. Thank you so much, ladies. It's
How
a pleasure
are
to
you
be
today?
here. Really wonderful.
Good.
Excellent.
So happy to have you here. So first and foremost, tell me a little bit more about what's going on with Mrs. Fiscally Responsible over here.
Yeah. So a number of things in terms of really just believing that you can achieve your financial goals, right? Yeah. Having the mindset, the positive mindset regarding what your vision is in terms of achieving those goals, what you want your financial life to look like. Understanding starting small is powerful.
That is major.
Okay,
starting small is powerful.
I think everyone needs to understand that.
They do need to understand that.
Yes.
And again, that starts with the mind and really so like you have to put things into perspective, right? Yeah. So a lot of us, we see a lot of things on social media, TV or whatever. And we think that, okay, we want this, we have to have that. We have to have that new Gucci bag, whatever. And sometimes it's okay to have the little pocket-sized one first before you get to the big bag.
Wallet, yeah.
She's like, no, that's not what I said. No,
it is. Because I'm definitely that one that loves beautiful things, luxury things, for sure. But just understand it. Absolutely. You have to start small. You have to start somewhere. You have to be able to take those small steps. You know, my financial milestones was over the course of several years. Yeah. But it really was because of that first step, you know, really facing my financial truths, really understanding what it is that I wanted to do more of and make more of, right? And understanding that power of starting small it goes a long way for sure. It absolutely goes a long way.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because Janine and I were discussing on the way over here. When I've been thinking about this show today, I worry about I don't want to say the lower class because there are a lot of young folks that are still living with their parents. Yes. And they might be working at a retail store, making the starting rate in our state is like $15 an hour. The problem is when you're watching social media and you're seeing people going on vacations and they're out there manifesting what you want to do. How do you manifest with $15 an hour, or how do you start small with $15 an hour and still have a lot of responsibilities? So I think that's the part that people must understand, is that they can't do everything everyone else is doing, or they can't have the big bag.
Indeed.
Yeah. So the $15 an hour person has to start small, but they need to understand that. And I think that's where it gets a little tricky.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what makes it so tricky. I think the ego is what makes it tricky, because people see these fancy things on social media that they feel that they have to have. Their ego is what's drawing them to these things instead of understanding the responsible aspect of their money, right? Which is why we have you here to talk, to tell us, how do we stop fantasizing over these things that really serve us no purpose?
Yeah. And I'll go back to that social media piece because it's easier to definitely see that illusion, right? Yeah. What we see on social media, what we see, like that whole saying, keeping up with the Joneses, right? But what's most important for you, like understanding, living in your truth, it's okay to say no. It's okay to establish your own vision, to not really get caught up, because getting caught up in the comparison game and you fall into this trap of wanting to keep up where it's only gonna continue to keep you down overall.
That is so true. And I think that's it's growth.
Yes.
To get someone to that point.
Yeah.
I know a person personally who is going through that right now, and she has a group of people she's with, and the wives always are doing things. And so when you're trying to keep up with the wives
Right.
and your finances is not allowing you to, it's like, and then also too is and I'm not speaking for the person right now. I'm just saying, and I'm removing myself from the situation and put myself in that position is the embarrassment. It's like, do you honestly say to someone, I don't have it?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You know, because in 2024, things are different. I remember I was born in the 70s, and I remember in the 80s, we used to borrow sugar and a cup of flour, and no one was ashamed. But now if I go to my neighbor and ask for a cup of sugar, they're going to be like,
what's going on?
I didn't know things was hard over there. So with that being said, how does someone tell their group of friends, I don't have it?
Yeah.
See, I'm big on definitely living in your truth. And it takes that sense of believing in what you're doing, having that wholesome belief in terms of your mission, your goal right now, and understanding short-term sacrifices could lead to long-term success, right?
I love that.
It's okay. Like, I'm big on, like, the no is powerful to say no.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the easiest, but you'll get a long way by saying no to those things. And yes, it's a lot more loaded when it comes down to having your friends question you. Why is she saying no? Why she's not at my event? Why she's not at my birthday dinner? All those things.
Yeah.
But you have to, at some point in time, you have to take that pause and say, okay, I have to do what's best for my future here.
Yes.
And yes, it's so much easier said than done. But where do you align that action in terms of actually doing it, so to speak?
So I want to make this spiritual connection here.
Yeah.
Because what you said actually is a reflection of self-love.
Yes.
So when you are able to put yourself first, that is 100% showing your self-love in that moment.
Definitely.
That's what I think people miss right there.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
You know, so I don't know. But that's great. I think that's pretty magical, having the ability to tell your friends, like, not today, bitch.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe next summer.
Yeah. Maybe next month, right? Or like
Indeed.
pace it out. Pace it out.
Yeah.
You don't have to be at everything, right?
Yeah.
And I know it's that FOMO, right?
Yeah.
Where you're gonna fear of missing out. Trust me, I've been down that road where I'm like, I gotta be at everybody but right there. I gotta be at every damn event.
What does FOMO mean again?
Fear of missing out. It's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
But like, the time will come, it will go.
Yeah.
So as long as you know that you're firm and you have that sort of focus on yourself right now and what's best for your financial life, right? You could do it.
Indeed.
Yes,
You could do it.
Indeed.
Definitely.
So let me ask you, how much do you think you rely on God when it comes to your finances?
Ooh, 200%.
Oh, that's major.
Ooh, let me
add a little bit more to that.
What is God doing for you?
God is providing and God is in control, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm big on understanding, like, God is in control. It's God that's providing, even when it comes down to being able to achieve financial success, right?
Okay.
It's God that provided where you have to. It goes aligned with, like, being a good steward to what God provided you with, right? So understanding that first and foremost is key. Having that attitude of gratitude when it comes down to everything that you have achieved, from small to big to in between. Like, understanding that is the foundation of understanding, you know, that you are able to, you know, have and be provided with.
Go ahead. No.
So I agree with you, and I actually live by that standard too, because I grew up in a church, and I was taught from a little girl that God is going to give you what you need. But it says all of what you need and some of your wants.
Yep.
One of the things, I'm gonna play the devil's advocate, because we were talking on the way here again, and I said to Janine, one of the lines that, and it didn't hit me until this morning. One of the lines that concerns me is, remember, and people still say it, God may not come when you want, but he's always on time.
Yes.
I'm going to play the devil's advocate with that, because I remember there was a lot of family members that would wait till God came. So it's kind of like, why did you have to wait to, like, if he wasn't on time, then what was you doing that he wasn't on time? Like, I kind of looked at it from a different, and it hit me today. I'm like, wait a minute, that line is actually a little questionable. Like, he does, I love the line though, because let me tell you something. My husband and I, we've said that line many times.
Yes.
But the part that I don't like is, the concept is, why did you sit there and wait?
Yeah.
Could you have done something in the midst of the waiting?
Yeah.
So I think we need to talk about that.
Yes, that's a good point, because yes, God provides, God's in control, but what is your contribution to it?
Yes.
Right? Because we can't just sit here and say, look at our Bible scriptures and things like that and not contribute towards that. Like, what is your role in actively contributing to what God is providing? Because God could provide and you just not be fiscally responsible.
Hey, Mrs. Fiscally Responsible.
Right? And then it's just like, okay, then it's counterproductive here.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that is very important to understand. You are a part of contributing to what God is providing to you.
And that's part of manifestation.
Yes.
But I also want to say something else here too.
Yeah.
Because people need to stay in the present when it comes to a lot of situations in their lives. And in staying in the present, you realize that there's so much more abundance around you than what people fail to acknowledge. Yes. So I think that when people sometimes show more gratitude, more gratitude for what they have, more gratitude for the food that they have on the table today, things like that. I think that when you start doing that, it really opens up this avenue of appreciating and feeling the abundance that God actually gives you.
Yes.
That most people, and I unfortunately, I think it's millennials. And I'm sorry, millennials. Love y'all.
I'm a millennial.
Love y'all, but
we got some issues.
Some of y'all a little ungrateful around here.
Yes. But there's a little positive side to that, because listen, this group of, who's the ones after you?
The Gen Z?
Yeah, Gen Z. I think Gen Z's a little more spicier.
They're very spicy, and they know how to make some things happen.
Let me tell you.
I agree with that.
Quick story. I met this lady who's a director, and she had been on vacation, and so the new batch of employees that came in were young, and she didn't get a chance to meet them yet. Right. But she got a kind email from a group of them, and we're like, we are appalled that we have been with this company for X amount of days and you never showed your face. Ooh. Like, these are Gen Z.
But talk about it, because
but they have this air about them.
Yeah.
And that's part of manifestation too, where they know they deserve.
Yes.
They are the child of the king. Like,
they know that everything in this world belongs to them.
Yeah, they really do.
They're
like, my father is God,
and this is mine.
This is mine. I'm going to tell you. So I love their spunk, but sometimes they're a little too spicy to the point where they'll sit and wait for the manifestation.
Yeah.
So they get in their own way.
I'm not going to get this job because God's going to drop this 100,000 on my lap tonight.
Like, they go to the interview. So you mean to tell me Walmart is not paying $50,000 a year? Right. Do you know who I am?
Right.
They are built so different.
No, they're paying $15, not an hour.
So abundance can come in so many different ways.
Absolutely.
So what do you, like, for you, what does abundance look like for you as a financially, fiscally responsible individual?
It's definitely deeper than just like wealth and money.
Okay.
It's definitely a matter of understanding and access to options and understanding my potential and knowing, like, it starts from within, right?
Yeah.
In terms of what I can manifest, what I can control, what I'm able to create. Being rich is I like that acronym of RICH, meaning realizing I create my own happiness.
Come on, manifestation.
I like that. Well, repeat that.
That has been my mantra over the last
couple. That's going to be my next tattoo.
couple of years.
Say that again.
Being rich, meaning I realize I create my own happiness, right?
Love it.
Rich. So it's deeper than just money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? Because money is often a tool to give us access to joy, happiness. It can be an evil tool too, but in terms of what we manifest it to be, to give us access to happiness, options, being able to do what we want to do, being able to have the peace, right, that we aspire to have. So when it comes down to abundance, I love what you said about understanding that, you know, that present state, right? Because it's super important to understand the present, right? Because it's so easy to go back and say, oh, I wish I would have done things differently, you know, and getting so caught up in getting stuck with that, right? But understanding what you actively have in the now and understanding like abundance is rich. It's very rich, and it's a matter of access to options, peace, and knowing that I am capable to create that.
Because you're saying that abundance in essence is subjective.
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is another thing that I'm going to tell people.
that.
This is what another thing I want to tell everybody too. This is important that people lose their lives over money.
Ooh.
They do.
Yeah.
You know, and one thing about being spiritualist, and I know we're laughing and we're joking about things, but you have to understand that being spiritualist, and when you understand how energy and power works, money, a dollar bill, for instance, we've put power in that. We put energy into that. It's just a paper. It's just a note. But because we put a certain energy in it to say, okay, this note represents $5, it's literally energy is what designates that to be its value.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and that goes with everything around us that we consider as a form of abundance.
Right.
So whatever energy that you put into it is subjective.
Yes.
Right.
That is so true.
And that's what makes it so magical.
Yeah.
I work in a psych ward, and two of the main things that people come to the psych ward for, or the catalyst, is love. They broke up with someone, and their finances. A bulk of the people that come to our unit are homeless. So finances is really hurting our country psychologically. And like you said, it's about perspective. It's about everything that we talked about to this point with not waiting to the last minute, because all of them wait to the last minute. It's something in the air that they're like waiting, and then when they find out they're homeless, it's like, okay, I'm going to run. I want to kill myself. So finances is a really important aspect of people's lives that needs to be on the forefront. Besides, you know, of course, you got God, love, and family, and then the finances, because that's how you are able to eat. That's how you're able to clothe yourself. So it's really important, and finances is different for every family, because some families are trying to just struggle and survive. Meanwhile, like my family, we're trying to excel. We're able to pay our bills, but we want a little bit more than just getting by. So finances has its different avenue depending on who it is. So I just pray that people psychologically, you know, don't let finances get to them, and seek help fast. Like find people like Brittany that can help you instead of waiting till you hit rock bottom.
Right.
Indeed.
Indeed. Personal finances is exactly what you ladies stated. It's personal, right?
Yeah.
And it's big to understand that, like, your situation will be different from the other situation, but it's a matter of how you align that to what you want for your situation, more or less, to understand what's going to work best for you. And it's not a one-size-fit-all situation.
I like that line. It's not a one-size-fit-all.
Yes, it really is not. Like, it's okay that, you know, you want to do things differently or whatever the case is, but the ultimate goal is to not allow it to stress you. Right? Not allow your financial life to stress you out, to really understand, like, you have the potential to totally thrive and be able to live within your means and things of that sort. If you're someone that's, you know, not generating the amount of income that's allowing you to survive and thrive, right? How do you expand to see about opportunities to gain more income, so to speak? So I'm big on understanding like what options are available, but understanding specifically like how do you define your own financial life? Like, don't put yourself in comparison. It goes back to our point, like keeping up with the Joneses. Yes. It's okay. Yeah. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses. You can do your own thing. Define your own thing.
And that reminds me of one of the lines that you like to say a lot.
What I say?
Which is like, it doesn't matter how you start. It's how you finish.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, definitely.
That's really good.
Yeah, because
that is powerful.
Yeah, it is.
Because we all had a start.
Yeah.
Right? Somewhere. And we all start different.
Yeah.
And you know, I just told my daughter today, I dropped off to work and I said to her, don't look at time.
Oh.
Because a lot of people feel like you have to be a certain way by 30, by 40. I told her is as long as you get to that point.
Yeah.
And as long as you're not sitting there waiting for a handout. Chip away at it. You don't have to take big chunks. Just take little steps. Yeah. Because sometimes taking the big steps is what makes you go crazy. Yeah. So I told her just take little crumbs. But I said, but you got to be in it to win it.
Yeah.
You just can't sit around, because my issue with this population, and it's not just young folks, it's everybody, social media, the phone.
Yeah.
Like people, I remember years ago, I never forget, I had one friend call me up and she's like, do you know so-and-so asked me to help her fill out some applications? She said, but if you could tell she's on Instagram. So she's like, all the time that you're spending on Instagram, you could have filled out like 10 applications.
Wow.
Right.
And that's true.
It's very
They must have been a Generation Z or whatever it is.
So people are wasting time on social media when they can be excelling in their craft. Like a lot of people have gifts and they won't hone in on their gifts because they're in social media. They're watching other people do their gifts.
Right.
Yeah, but all right. So, okay, I have to bring it back to the spiritual spin.
Yes.
Because, you know, and I'm going to get heavy with you.
With
you in the room, Brittany, okay? Because what happens is that unfortunately some people, they have a blockage that's keeping them from actually identifying what abundance is, or being creative. There's whatever the blockage is. And us as spiritualists, we have realized that it's usually like a dark or a negative energy that is over certain people that's keeping them from moving forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in these instances where you have certain individuals who are stuck, and world, I need you to know this. I really need to expose this to everybody because, and I'm just finding out so much more about dark energy. This is something that we have recently encountered and learned even some things about ourselves that have hindered us that we didn't even know existed.
Right.
And this earthly plane is so thick. And it's so, and we don't realize this, that we don't know why it's such a heavy, dense state. It's because a lot of negative energy exists on this plane.
Yes.
And we're in this world to learn, right?
I'm glad, not to cut you off, but I'm glad you mentioned that to Brittany, because you do a lot of counseling.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure there have been times where you're sitting there saying they just don't get it.
Yes.
They're not listening to me.
Yeah.
And Brittany, is really important for you to understand that there are negative entities on these people and they want to win.
Right.
They came to you to win. So they had the desire, they had the want. But this entity around them, by the time they get in the car and drive off, they're like, the entity tells them you can't do it. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, because she needs to understand sometimes it's not the person. It's that negative energy.
I definitely experienced that. Like in terms of someone that, you know, they show up in a way to say and they vocalize it, yes. But understanding like there's those barriers that exist foundationally, whatever the case is, that still needs to be addressed, right? And it requires extra healing or
shadow work.
Shadow work, yes, and unpacking what it is, because it is totally a real thing, right? So I love showcasing like the possibility that it can happen, really celebrating those small milestones that may be perceived as small, right?
Yeah.
Following your budget for a month. That's major for someone that is experienced those blocks, right? So it's really important to understand that that's a real thing. Yeah. Absolutely. It's totally a real thing. And then in terms of how do you work through that understanding it is a process.
I like that you do that. I like that you actually transition people into this feeling of knowing something great can come about making these certain choices. Yes. That means you're a healer, girl.
I tried.
Congratulations.
Absolutely.
You're a light worker, darling.
Yes, you are.
It's totally real. Like, it's totally real of, like, even my existing clients. You know, we have had our trials, our tribulations, our phases, right? Yes. Where it was just a struggle season, right? To understand. But then, you know, being that positive coach and that positive money friend that will constantly pour into you, right? Because you need that.
So what do you do? I don't mean to cut you off, but what do you do when you have these clients that are having these mental blocks, and how do you deal with that?
The biggest thing is really just supporting them with where they're at in that moment, you know, and understanding this season may not mean that you have to pay down, you know, $5,000 a debt, so to speak. Okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Remind them, like,
so you're realistic.
Yeah, I'm very realistic. My approach is very realistic. I'm all about understanding, like, the financial truths, understanding those barriers, understanding, you know, those foundations that, you know, a lot of us have experienced. I have experienced a ton of my own, for sure. So I love sharing that.
Yes.
With and being very transparent, but really being able to meet them where they're at. Yeah. I think it's the very important part in terms of what I can do. And if, you know, sometimes I often have to be very practical with what I can and what I'm capable to do. Yeah. So it may be a matter of supporting them and trying to get extra help accordingly, right? But really being able to support them through that process. And most of the experiences I have, we've been able to overcome that, right? Okay. Where it's just a matter of, okay, we took that slowdown. We unpack, like, okay, the spending was going on. There was some emotional changes happening and things of that sort. But we're picking up. And I'm here, like, as a coach, that's probably the number one thing. I'm supporting you through that journey.
I love that.
Because it's not a one-size-fit-all. Like, that's the biggest part that I like to emphasize. Yeah. And I never try to put my own journey on people. Like, you know, and I have had my own ups and downs too in the process where, you know, I'm going through life changes here and there. And I love being vocal about that. Yeah.
Now, do you ever bring God in the situation with your clients? Because I know at work we can't bring God.
Oh, interesting.
You know, so with you being
to a degree, okay. I'm pretty much on my own spiritual journey. So I'm not like, how could I word it?
You're not like throwing holy water on
them. I'm not throwing holy water.
Finances.
Exactly.
I'm gonna exercise this demon off of you.
I definitely am mindful of that, and I definitely bring that into the equation accordingly, right? Yeah. But the biggest part is really being able to understand and supporting them through that journey. I think that's where we see the most success, when we do take that pause if need be.
Let me ask you, so not to get too churchy.
Yes.
Tithing, 10%.
Yes. Ooh, that's a topic. Okay.
Because listen. Sometimes when they say 10%, and then you like, okay, so if I give you 10%.
All right, how could I state my
is Jesus? Who gonna come and finish when I'm depleted by 10%? Who paying?
Yeah,
is God gonna come one time to pay the?
I would just say, for me, it's not all about that dollar amount of like 10% rule, so to speak.
Yeah, but God said,
I convert that. I'm all about giving. What do I give? Like it may not be 10%, like quote unquote, this 10% tithing. I shifted my approach to be about giving to those who are in need. And that's pretty much kind of like the sound sort of foundation I even imply and enforce with my family, our family style, so to speak. It's about being givers, like throughout our journey, right? Where it doesn't, like, that was a hard concept for me to grasp. And I'm just like, and my husband was more so, he was raised Pentecostal, like in the church and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he has a lot more exposure than what I did when it comes down to tithing and things like that. But something about that tithing rule never resonated to me in that manner.
Yeah.
It's all about, okay, I'm going to give back. I'm going to give.
Because even like giving a bag of clothes,
that's a part of giving.
That's more than 10%.
Right.
When you add up what's in that bag.
So I don't like getting caught like, oh, I got to give the tip. No, because I give actively.
Brittany said, you going to get what I give you today.
Yeah, that looks like a lot of different things. Volunteering my financial coaching services for those who are in need. Being able to, I'm big on like birthdays and things like that. So like whenever birthdays come up, you know, I'm all about, okay, let's be a little bit extra generous in our gifting, right? And things like that. So it looks, I'll summarize it to say like our form of tithing is giving. Giving. Giving, actively giving.
You know what I like about your approach? You're very nurturing and you're very gentle when you are teaching people about finances. And for people who may even come to you in embarrassment and, you know, they may not want to expose some of the irresponsible decisions that they have made financially to someone. I sense that you don't give off any judgment, right? I love that about you.
Thank you. I pride myself in that.
It makes you feel safe to come to you.
Yes.
And learn.
Yeah. That's the most important part of my coaching approach. And I often say this from the beginning, like through our console call, like this is a judgment-free zone. I'm never going to judgment you, be judgmental towards you or judge you, I should say. It's about moving forward. How do we move forward? And I'm actively and constantly being transparent with my financial mistakes. So, you know, we could kind of use this as a case study to say, I want to, you can avoid from doing this, so to speak. But like, I'm big on, that's probably the biggest part of why I developed this passion with finances and financial literacy, because oftentimes, and when I hear stories like people were judged on, you know, their financial mistakes, I literally had someone come to me a couple of weeks ago who did a consult call, and she referenced like, because the financial advisor I was speaking to just made me feel so uncomfortable. I just said, wow, it's like that really happened. Yeah. Like this is a safe zone. It's just a safe space to talk about moving forward. It's kind of
like when someone comes to you with their finances, it's kind of like someone opening their shirt and showing you their bra. And they body.
Yes, it's very sacred.
Very embarrassing too.
Exactly. But don't feel embarrassed with me.
But you know, I remember when I purchased my home, the embarrassment that went through with that, and also too, you had to make sure your bank account was
like every detail mattered.
That was
with
funny.
Every
like I remember one time my husband didn't pay something on time. I wanted to rip his head off his neck because I'm like, out of all the times you didn't pay the garbage bill. It was the garbage bill. I'm like, come on, we're purchasing a home right now.
Yeah,
pay the garbage bill. So, you know, thank God it worked out.
Right.
And I think that's why a lot of people actually don't purchase homes, because of that fear of exposure.
I have heard individuals state that. Yeah. I feel like money has always been this taboo, right? Yes. So how do we break that taboo? And
that's what I want to know.
Normalize.
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk.
Because it's only going to make us better.
Truth be told.
Yes, I'm ready.
It's only going to make us better. So I'm all about like normalizing the money conversation. Like I'm an open book. I strive to be an open book. I'm going to talk about my mistakes. I'm going to talk about how I did X, Y, and Z, whatever the case is. But like normalizing the conversation is so important.
Yeah.
So important.
Indeed.
Let's talk about credit.
Ooh, yes.
Credit cards.
Yeah.
I was with a coworker the other day, and she's in a 2-family home, and she had to purchase something. She says, listen, right now, because she's in school to be a nurse practitioner, and she said, everything we do is on our credit cards. She said, I can't do lump sums.
Yeah.
And that's the state of America. I remember a few years back, I used to listen to the Bloomberg radio station, and one of the hosts had mentioned that it might have been 2018-19 where in America, that it was they said 70% of Americans did not have $700 in their bank account. If their car was to break down at this very moment, they didn't have $700 in cash to pay for their car. And that was like 70% of the of Americans. I was really floored.
Yeah.
And I'm one of them, but no. But no, I would do it on card.
Yeah.
So can you kind of touch on the whole credit?
Yeah. So credit, debt, and things like that is out of control for sure, right? And you know, people are living on credit, like literally surviving on credit and not being able to afford living, essentially. So I'm sort of like, I have developed and established an approach where I'm not anti-credit cards, but I am all about being responsible with your credit usage, because using credit cards can have a lot of advantages as long as you're not like what I would consider abusing it, where you are solely relying on that. And then, like, in events of emergencies, whatever the case is, sometimes that's all you have the means to do. That's why keeping up with a good credit score is an important thing, for sure, for you to have access when need. But it's that balancing act of understanding, you know, you shouldn't be going above your means and utilizing it and going into debt with it, so to speak, establish and being able to manage your credit card debt accordingly. The goal is to kind of be capable to pay it off in full every single month, right? That's golden rule, so to speak. But in the event where you can't, right? Do you have a plan? Like, what is your plan with it? Like, you can't just keep on swiping and never think about, like, when will you pay it off? Because that's how you fall into the trap.
That's exactly how people get caught up.
Exactly. But if you're in it for, you're leveraging that tool, right, in terms of a short-term debt, you just have to have a plan to it. But don't just live off of it, so to speak. And then when it comes down to that emergency savings, that's critical. And that's real statistics, where so many individuals don't understand the power of having an emergency fund.
So I will say this. My husband and I, we do have an emergency fund.
Phenomenal.
And my husband is like I don't want to say crackhead with it.
Okay.
But reason why I say that is because I could need something desperately. He's like, no, that's not coming out of that fund.
That's not an emergency.
Like, what?
Listen,
I'm like, oh my God.
He's like, wait a minute, I'm controlling this. Is it an emergency? Yes or no? Will you survive without it? It ain't an emergency.
That's why your ass ain't in charge of the finances.
I'm not. That's exactly why. I would say, I'll pay it back. Like, let me borrow from. He like, no, we not borrowing from the fund.
There's a lot of power in having that emergency fund, because you never know when life be life, right? Life be life, and life will happen. So you want to have a stash of money available when life happens, right? Yes. But it has to be a true emergency. And when it's not, it's okay to establish a little, like, I want to just splurge fund, right?
Yes.
So then that's what you should target. Let me build up my splurge fund when I want the brand new hairstyle, whatever the case is, right? So it's a matter of, like, establishing the money systems that work best for your life and your lifestyle. Yes, that's where the personal finances come into the play of being personal. But, like, going back to the emergency fund, it's super important to work towards having that emergency fund, because the statistics reflect that it's not there for a lot of people, for sure. And then when life happens, you're only going to end up in that cycle of using the credit card. Then you're in credit card debt, right? So that's where, like, as a financial coach, I come into play to really establish that financial foundation, that solid footing in terms of what makes sense to build up on.
How long do you stay with a client?
Ooh, very good question. So I usually start at a 6-month mark, because that's when we're able to really develop positive money behaviors and everything like that. But my longest clients that I've been working with, it's been almost 5 years. Ooh. So it's a great thing.
So you're part of the budget. Wow.
They got a budget to have you.
Right. But they're thriving. They're doing really well and everything like that. But because, you know, that journey of managing your finances, it could start off with, I'm trying to get out of debt, to oh, I'm having a child now. How do I prepare for that? So it's a life cycle, right? In terms of really being able to have that accountability piece and everything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Excellent. I remember when I was a kid,
Yes.
I was sitting on the table with my grandfather and my little cousin. My family's from Panama, so
nice.
God bless my cousin. He had the ability to learn Spanish from the family.
Oh.
So my grandfather turns to my cousin and says, teach Kisha how to speak Spanish. And he turns to me, he says, speak Spanish. I'm like, okay. So I'm going to ask you.
Yes.
How do I'm your new client.
Yeah.
Walk me through a
That
3-month process with you.
Yeah.
What does it look like?
Yeah. So it's that that first conversation is really understanding what's your goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to say, I want to save more money, right? But we work through the process of establishing a financial SMART goal. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based, right?
Yes.
Where we're formulating, okay, you have this available, you're going to be able to save $100 a month for 3 months or 3 to 6 months, let's say 6 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
By saving $100 a month, so you'll have $600 stash for your splurge fund, right? So really being able to understand what that goal process is, but really that sort of initial session, what I call is my deep dive session, is really bringing everything to the table, right?
Okay.
Understanding the financial picture and really doing that work where it requires you to retrieve your financial statements and being able to collect all of that to really be able to start facing those details when it comes down to your finances. So we spend about 90 minutes or so really being able to review all of that to really be able to formulate and establish and create that budget, right? And usually I work with women that receive a consistent paycheck, right? So it's a matter of like breaking it down per paycheck, because that's how we're going to be the most effective, where it's just a matter of outlining, I get paid on Friday, this is what I got coming in, these are all my obligations, these are my expenses, and really establishing a system that you could rinse and repeat that every single paycheck.
I like that.
Yeah. Do you ever get like strict with your clients if you find that they're wasting your time?
Ooh.
Have you ever fired any of your clients?
I definitely identify where, some clients are just, I label it, they're not ready. They're not ready. And I'm not created to work with every single person.
Yeah,
so I have to understand that.
Yeah. I like that, because we go through that with clients.
It's a real thing. And it took me a little while to understand that, because I wanted to help the world. I'm like, I got this gift. I want to help the world, but not everybody could align with you.
Yes.
So I understand that. So, over this process, I have definitely evolved. I started coaching in 2019. So I've been in this for 5 years now, where I'm able to identify kind of some red flags. But the biggest thing that I'm working through is listening to those red flags, because I can get caught up in the fact of like, I just want to help this person. I just want to sign them on. Because I really do. But like, they got to be the right fit too. They got to be coachable. They got to meet me halfway, because I'm not in it to do it all. And those are usually signs that are true to say like, okay, this isn't going to be the best thing. And I'm not in it to like drag you. Yes. I'm in it to like add value to your life.
Exactly. So, we went through that same thing. We went through that same process. It was hard for us to have to tell ourselves it was okay when someone wasn't ready.
Right.
So that's great that you realize that, because that too just adds to your value, girl.
Yes, absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I remember a lady said her and her husband had a fund for their daughter to go to college.
Okay.
Knowing she was not college material.
Okay.
So they let her go to college knowing she was going to fail, because they didn't want to be the ones to tell her you're not college material, because they knew if she didn't go to college, she would have blamed them for the rest of her life, that her life could have went in a different direction. I say that to say to you, do you If you see the flags, do you wait a little while just so that they can see that they're not a good fit for this program?
So based upon experience, like my radar does go off, but it ended up resulting in kind of like letting it time out itself, sort of, where it's like, we go through this and I'm kind of keeping it locked, like, wait, this, and then the pattern is there, and I'm like, dang.
Here we go.
But then when it's over, it's just like, oh, I know. But it only allows me to be better, to kind of catch those things earlier, to say, okay, I know I'm not going to go above and beyond per se, and not saying it in a way, but like, I'm not going to break my neck up like early on in the process the way I used to do, because I know this is telling me like they're not, and I have to just put it in the category they're not ready. Like, I don't want to go into this and that and they can't afford it, all that stuff.
And that kind of reverts back to what you were saying with the negative energy. Like,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
The person wants to do it and their soul wants to do it. They know this is the best fit for them. But then when they drive home or, as weeks go by and that thing is like, go ahead and buy. You don't worry about what Brittany said to you. Go ahead and splurge with the rent money or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Whatever it is this energy is telling them to do. So it's really a battle. And we have been dealing with this battle for a very long time, to the point where we're at a standstill trying to figure out what do we do with these kind of clients, because, spiritually, when someone comes to you and they're verbalizing, they look like they're ready, and you're not going to turn someone away. Oh, you look like that.
Exactly.
But and we kind of go down that path with them too, because we want to believe that they're ready. And
because we want to help the world too.
That's the goal, right?
Exactly.
That's the goal. But then you have to face reality. Like, they're just not ready.
They're not ready.
But
and it's sad.
Yeah, it's sad. But who knows if they may be ready a year later. That's what I often catch myself in this journey, where it's like, I plant these little seeds, right? Where I could interact with someone. Like, I literally interacted with someone like a year prior, and they came to me with the consult, and then they follow up like a year. I'm like, okay. So that tells me like they weren't ready then, but they're ready now. And that's,
and like you
it
said,
works
you planted
out in that way.
Yep. In their own, everything in its own time.
Everything's in its own time. Absolutely.
But I want to bring up something way bigger than when it comes to the negative energy. And I don't know, this might take everybody for a doozy, but listen, I was on social media earlier today and I saw a post where there was a guy that gave a lecture in front of a bunch of people, and he showed a image of a blue circle and a red circle.
Okay.
And he said to the audience, these two circles are different sizes. I want you guys to tell me which circle is bigger. So everybody raised their hand and they wanted to, he said, who thinks that the blue circle is bigger? And people raised their hand and said blue. And then he said, well, which people think that the red circle is bigger? And people raised their hand and said red. So he said, I want to show you guys how easy it is to manipulate people.
Because was it the circle that it was in that was bigger?
No. He said, no, the two circles were next to each other.
Okay,
to clarify. So he said, actually, the two circles are actually the same size. And he wanted people to know this is how manipulation actually starts. Just that quick. He said he was able to manipulate everyone in the audience.
Wow. Interesting.
And he says it starts with one seed where you're manipulated within your own frame of mind. And then you take that information and then you tell the people around you, and it ends up infiltrating your friends and then your family members.
Yes.
And then after that, it becomes an even larger seed. And then that's how it becomes a social misconstruct, I guess, where people are completely hoodwinked and bamboozled through manipulation. So I say all that to say that how easy it is for generations of people to become so brainwashed in their how they spend money and how they value money and how they choose not to spend wisely. So it's really, it can really affect cultures worth of people who have poor spending habits. So for somebody like you that wants to save the world, how you gonna save us, girl? That's what I want to know.
just continue my mission on just keep on showing up in what I do, share my story, being able to identify who's my target, really. Like, I'm speaking to somebody, right? And understanding that and knowing, like, I'm always going to be a positive symbol or a positive person, that's all about living fiscally responsible.
Amen to that.
So it's a matter, and I often like to be like have a brand where you don't necessarily have to sign up for coaching to, see some financial success, right?
Yeah.
You could sign up for my email list. That's free, right? You could follow me on Instagram where I shared some gems and everything. So there's ways for you to, achieve some financial success for sure too.
Yeah.
And then, I have my specific women who I primarily work with who are looking for those. They're serious. They're serious. They're ready to see the change and the progress and make some adjustments accordingly. So, yes.
And I'm glad you mentioned the ladies, because I had discussed with you guys before that quick scenario. There was a gentleman that I saw online who he was well put together. He was handsome. He was tall. He claims he was well endowed, but he didn't show it. He said financially he was very, successful. And he said that he is not going to tolerate being with a woman who thinks she's the baddest one in the room because she has a pretty face and she thinks her body is, he said more sexual stuff, but I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
I think that's really important that individuals, not just women, but individuals need to understand is that if you're trying to manifest a certain mate, relationship-wise, in the financial aspect, if a woman's like, I want to have a lawyer and I want to have this kind of guy, because there's a lot of people who are in their 20s and 30s or even 40s that are still trying to find that one person, but they have expectations. The question is, or the comment to that is, you have to be that person you want that person to be. So you need to start working on yourself on a financial level, on a going back to school, whatever it is that's going to make you a better person. So I found that very interesting that he had stipulations on what kind of person he wanted to involve himself with.
Well, the only thing is, don't do it for no man, though.
Of course, you know what, you're right. But the thing is, if you expect the mate that you're looking for to be of a certain stature,
I get it.
If you have to be someone that's on the search of finding someone, you have to understand like what it is that you have going on, what you bring to that table. I
remember I met an older gentleman who was a widow, and he dated someone else after his wife had passed away, and she kept nudging him, I want to get married. So finally he's like, all right, let's have a financial meeting. Ooh. I need to see your debt before I propose to you.
Yikes.
Ooh, that's good. I'll add to that, because one of the key things that's super important, like when I met my husband, we were very intentional about like our goals together and things like that, which led us on the pathway to like be serious about our relationship, right?
Yeah, nice.
But it's important up front, like it's okay to start having those conversations early on when you meet someone, to understand what it is. Yeah. Make sure you both are equally yoked when it comes down to those aspirations, to be on the same page. Don't let the financial topic become this taboo with someone you're striving to build a future with. Like that's so important to be on the same page, because I often see it where both individuals in that relationship, even in that marriage, that can be on two different pages. Yeah. And I often know too, like you're going to have that spender, that saver too, which kind of balances each other out to a degree, but your overall sort of financial vision should be aligned. At least be in the same book. Don't be.
Yeah. I like how she's trying to give people a little bit of grace for those chicks that like to go shopping a little too much.
Listen, I understand that shopping lane, but you got to be fiscally responsible too. Yeah, that's where it goes back. We reel back to personal finances is personal, right? Yes. But you can't I always use this analogy. Don't have a $1,000 bag if you don't have $1,000 in the bank.
Come on with it.
So that's super important too, because I like nice bags too.
Champagne taste with beer bottle pockets.
You know, I got this cousin who is very, very flamboyant, and she was like, "See, I can't understand how these girls be having these $1,000 bags, and their neighbor's a roach."
Oh, okay.
Not Pookie. Yikes.
Okay,
She meant actual roaches.
Yikes.
So she was like, "You need to get up out them whatever apartment you in."
It's real. Yeah,
So,
it's real.
Interesting.
It's all
interesting. Oh my God.
So what advice would you give someone who's trying to manifest wealth?
Oh, first, commit to the money mindset. Like understanding that just have a positive outlook on the goal to be able to achieve financial success because you have the potential. Then I would say commit to that financial literacy piece too, whether or not it's listening or reading more books, exposing yourself to content that's going to only elevate and add value.
I love that.
To you, right?
Yes.
And then also being able to face the truth of your financial situation is a good starting point, right? When it comes down to understanding how much total debt you have. It's easy to kind of like go with the day-to-day and say, oh, I think I have like debt, so to speak, but not understanding your number. Because when you start connecting yourself to your actuals, it's going to only fuel you to want to make a change if you want it, right?
Love it.
But the biggest thing is also like start small, like understanding the power of starting small. Whether or not it's just jotting down that list of your financial goals, making sure they're smart financial goals, right? And being able to know, like, I always use the analogy too, like when I first started investing, I started doing like this micro investing process where it was literally $5 a week, so to speak. But the power of that goes a long way.
Yeah.
So knowing that, yes, you may not be at the income level that you want to be and that you will eventually be at, but knowing like what you currently have can go a long way. For sure.
I will be calling you.
Yes,
Indeed.
let's talk.
See, Brittany's like this whole mini spiritualist and she doesn't even realize
She's the
it.
full package.
We gotta have to put her on the team.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
here for
yes.
it.
Brittany.
I'm here for it.
She's gonna be our consultant.
I love it.
But Brittany, we are so happy to have you here.
Yeah.
You have taught so many people about being fiscally responsible and how much and how important it is to understand your own powers in manifestation and manifesting wealth and being proud of your small goals that can transition into greater goals.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful thing. So tell everybody how they can find you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, ladies. It's been quite a pleasure, and I can't wait to come back again.
Definitely.
I will be
definitely.
back.
Yes.
Yes, you can find me on directly at my website, fiscally-responsible.com. And also, I am very active and responsive on Instagram. So my handle is at Mrs.fiscallyresponsible.
Excellent.
I love it. I love it, Queen. And you can also find our information in the link below. So, audience, we are so happy that you could come and find out about abundance and manifestation.
Yes, indeed.
And how powerful you really, truly are. And for all of those that have stopped by, if you're new to the channel, make sure that you hit that subscribe button.
Yes.
Because we need you to find out more about the powers that you actually have when it comes to manifesting. So just remember one thing, that God is love. Love is the highest frequency. And go and find the God within.
Amen.
Amen.